Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fantastic day here on the Orbital platform. My name is GoldenNova Yu-Gi-Oh!, the lore laureate, the explaining expert, and we are here with some more custom card reviews. How are we doing today? Big thank you to Kingmaker for subscribing with Amazon Prime for 8 months. The dedication. Thank you so much for joining the Despot Squad for another 30/31 days, depending on your jurisdiction. We all send you our collective thanks. So, here's the deal. Today, we started out with 3 presenters. A couple days ago, we had 3 presenters. Over a very short period of time, that turned into 5. And I said that I was going to be somewhere 2 hours from now. So we're starting a little early. We're going to blitz through. I guess not blitz through. I want to give you all the time that you need, obviously, but we're going to make sure that we keep to a tight schedule. Sorry, boss. Hey, no problem. Life happens. It's going on. Thank you all for letting me start a little early. And, well, like I said, don't rush through your thing. You have your 15 minutes. We'll use that as normal. That's all good. But if I move things along, hopefully you'll understand. That being said, let's not waste any more time. Beluga Masta is first on my list right now. If you are available, please feel free to come into voice chat. And we can get started. If not, we can cover someone else who's already in chat right now. So, we'll give Beluga, I don't know, a couple minutes. We'll see. And then if not, we'll move on to the next person. So, how are we doing today? How are we holding up? Doing good. Looking forward to our next duel. Boy, I'm looking forward to when my stream schedule gets locked in so I can do more stuff. Ever since the move, I just have not been able to find, the extra time to, sit down and be all, get ahead enough on schedule to also do streaming on top of stuff. It's sad, because this has always had to be, the thing that I do in addition to the channel, but I'd love to do it more. Hype to show this month. I'm getting freaky with it. I love it when people get freaky with it. It's custom time. You gotta get silly with it. Honestly, the Nova scale is such a novel idea. I'm glad you think so. I know it's a derivative of basically every review thing, but I figured we needed something more than just a good to bad scale because, yeah, there really is a bunch of different reasons why people make customs. So, forcing it into a particular, binary felt restrictive, felt lame. So, now, I haven't figured out a way to do it that doesn't make people think that they should be aiming for a perfect score, but we'll get there at some point. This is objective. Oh, boo! Boo, Kobe, but also, that's good. Good stuff. Also very sad that Agito and Kelbeck got the ban hammer. Hey, I can't relate. Here, my hot take is that the Millers were proved that you can't make things that just mass mill cards because the game is so saturated with powerful grave effects that you will just jam them into almost anything and get a bunch of value out of it. But the shufflers are based. Those cards are awesome. Having a quick card with that kind of utility that helps to shut off grave effects, that can also recycle you cards, mwah! It is so wild that the Ishizu cards were on, everything that was meant to work with specifically Exchange of Spirit is right here in the center of the quality gauge, and then you have the Millers on this side, which are busted out their ass, and then you have the Shufflers on this end, which are the just big utility pieces that are fine to play. It's so wild, the power level spectrum between those two. February or March is another one with commissioned art. Ooh! I'm here now. What did I miss? Nothing much. Shizu knew she was going to be forgotten, so she made her cards broken as much as possible. Okay, so Beluga Master might not be here until our usual time. That's totally fine. I kind of sprung this on everyone out of nowhere. Let's go ahead and get started with someone else. I don't see Jackalow in chat, but I do see Combi. So let's give Jackalow like a couple of minutes, and if Jackalow doesn't slide into chat here, we'll get started with Combi. And then we have Zolga, who's just floating in space. And, like, they made a Zolga one, but they didn't include Zolga with the rest of the Ishizu cards. It's so funny. Okay, here's my question. Where does Cardon the Sage fall? Does that count as an Ishizu card? Does that count as anyone's card? They did in the DOCG. Well, I live here in the TCG, so I can't relate. Boom, boom. Okay. Cardon. Let me get a little image here. Cardon the Great Sage. I guess it's Cardon the Clear-Sighted here in the TCG. This guy. Cardon the Clear-Sighted, level 4 Earth Fairy. It's a fairy, so that seems like a... Earth Fairy seems like a Shizu stuff. When this card is normal summoned, you can set a continuous trap card from your hand or graveyard. It can be activated this turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. Face-up trap cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects until the end of the next turn. Kind of more Odeon. True! Odeon is the continuous trap guy, and it does work with continuous trap cards. Why is it an Earth Fairy, though, then? That's the thing. Is it like a crossover thing? I don't know. Anyway, so Jackalow isn't here. Yeah, that's totally fine. Combi, let's go ahead and, Sorry, Silvercase. I've gotta pause you right now. I'm gonna buff the audio now so that it's fine. Combi, get on up over here and we'll talk about some sick cards. Hello! How's it going?
It's going well. I won't linger too long. Got quite a lot of words on these cards. You may remember last month, cards, I said I was going to keep working on my concept for my kind of Shadowrun cyberpunky archetype.
Ooh, okay.
But what I did not mention is, whilst I have played in one Shadowrunny cyberpunky game, I have run multiple text-based ones, and I feel more at home in the place of the GM. So rather than making a deck for myself, which is the runners, as a river to my people, I shall play the corporation.
Oh, you traitor! Class traitor!
I am simply providing the fun experience of being crushed under the thumb of an almighty corporation.
Hey, you know what? That's fair. Someone has to play the villain sometimes in our games of pretend. So you know what? Fair enough.
I will be playing the role today of Apollo 440, the AI in control of the city of Neo Babylon, from my text-based JoJo's Bizarre Adventure AU. There stands in this. Just ignore it. It's a JoJo reference. Yes, whatever.
I will not be ignoring that. That will be factoring in critically to the final score.
Thanks.
No problem. Also, just Apollo 440 as an AI name is just mwah. Holy hell.
It's the name of a band.
Well, then you picked a good band to base your AI name off
of. Because, you know,
yeah,
JoJo's.
Yeah, if you're going to go with the JoJo's, you have to go all the way. You have to reference musical bands. Their names have to be silly. It's required. All right.
Yeah, let's get started.
So,
you're probably going to want to go through these kind of like in more of a bulk because they won't make sense until you've read at least 3 of them.
Okay. Then I'm looking at the list here. We should go through the first 3 in the side deck then?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll start with Apollo 440 Neo Babel Lord, a Link 1 light machine monster with 3000 attack. That's a good startup. This card must be special summoned from the extra deck to an extra monster zone by shuffling your hand into the deck while you control no other cards. Okay, well there's the trade-off. This card is unaffected by your opponent's card effects. This card cannot attack. This card cannot be tributed or used as summon material. If this card is special summoned by its own effect, activate one Vault of Babel from your hand, deck, or grave in your leftmost spell and trap zone. As a quick effect, target one spell or trap card you control that does not have an intruder counter on it and has not activated its effect in this chain. Shuffle the target into the deck, then you can set a Neo Babel trap card from your deck. Also, it can be activated this turn. You can only activate one effect of this card per turn, and only once per turn.
There's
Okay.
a reason that it's got that can't have activated its effect in this chain, but
Okay, so
again.
we'll keep that in mind moving forward.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next up is the Vault of Babel, continuous trap card. This card must be activated by the effect of Apollo 440 Neo Babel Lord and cannot be activated through other means. If this card is activated, activate one Neo Babel continuous trap card from your deck in your rightmost spell and trap zone, then set 3 Neo Babel traps from your deck. This card is unaffected by other card effects and cannot be set from the field to the graveyard as cost. Once per turn during the draw phase, draw a card. If an intruder counter is placed on this card, special summon a Neo Babel fusion monster from your extra deck. When a monster summoned by this effect leaves the field, your opponent draws 3 cards, then you shuffle all other Neo Babel cards you control into the deck, and you lose 4,000 life points, then destroy this card. Wow! Okay, so I'm getting a
So
bit of a, alright, I'm the raid boss, beat me and get a whole bunch of stuff vibes going on here.
yep. This is this is the opponent's target. This is what they're running in to get. They're coming in to rob my vault.
Alrighty, and the third one is Neo Babel Drone Bay.
This is an example of a room card, essentially. So
Okay. If this card is activated in your rightmost spell and trap zone, so one of the things that we would put on the activation of Vault of Babel, activate this.
Yep.
Rightmost spell and trap zone. Place an intruder counter on this card. Once per turn, target a monster. Special summon a drone token, which is a level 3 light machine monster with 1,000 attack and defense. Then you can reduce the attack of the target by 1,000 for each drone token you control. Then if it has 0 attack, destroy it. If there is a card with an intruder counter on it in a column to the left of this card, negate this card's effects. During the end phase, if your opponent controls more monsters in their main monster zone than you, and this card has an intruder counter on it, or this card leaves the field due to your opponent's card effect while this card has an intruder counter on it, place an intruder counter on a Neo Babel trap card in a column to the left of this card, or the zone this card was in. You can only control one Neo Babel drone bay.
So the idea is you summon Apollo, you set up the vault, and then you put together your kind of base. Wherever the intruder counter is, that's how far the players have got through the place. As they go through, they disable the rooms until eventually you're left with just your big boss, which they rob, get their big reward, and probably then immediately win the game.
Okay. And so the reason that we're using the intruder counters is to track them going through the rooms, but also because I think it was 404 that hit something that doesn't have an intruder counter on it. That's in there so that we can't just use Neo Babel to just like mess with the order and make it impossible to complete.
Yeah. It's set up so as much as possible, unless your opponent really tries to break it for themselves, they can't really break the chain. You can't break the chain.
Chain breaking will not be occurring. Okay, so we've got that sorted out. Next up we have Neo Babel. Neo Babel Patrol was what's next on the list. It looks like.
Oh, sorry, I changed it to turrets and forgot to say. So
okay, but that is turrets.
It should be turrets.
Got it. So
turrets is a more interesting effect.
I just like the little exclamation mark. It's just the perfect little item to show off surprise. Neo Babel turrets, counter trap card. If you control Neo Babel Vault and your opponent summons a monster, your opponent chooses one of the following effects for you to activate. Either negate that summon and return the monster to its owner's hand, then send this card to the graveyard and activate a Neo Babel continuous trap card from your deck in the zone this card was activated in. You cannot activate non-trigger effects of that card this turn.
So
Activate
that's,
their ignition
for
effects.
example, in Drone Bay, you can't summon the drones, but if your opponent succeeds in like resolving the effect, like to move the intruder counter over, you can't. It will still activate.
Alright, and the second they can choose, the summoned monster cannot attack this turn, and your opponent cannot add cards from their deck to their hand this turn. Then send this card to the graveyard and activate a Neo Babel Continuous Trap from your deck in the zone this card is activated in. You cannot activate non-trigger effects of that card this turn. You can only activate one Neo Babel Turrets once per turn.
So what I'm doing here is I'm saying to my player, turrets descend from the ceiling. What do you do? And they could choose to either run away, or they can choose to like shut down the network in the area. The turrets are deactivated, but they can't contact anyone. Can't call in help.
Oh, good, good. That's a pretty good. I like how that's being exemplified through the effects on that one. That's a pretty nifty way to express that.
And lastly, we have one of the big kind of raid boss guys. Note the stand in the background of the art because it's JoJo's.
Robo Stand. We haven't
Person
had a
and Soul
Robo
of
Stand yet,
Machines.
have we?
I don't think we have. I can't remember.
Araki should make a Robo Stand.
The idea is that the power, the Apollo 440's power is to boost the power, change and evolve the powers of other stands. It did this to another one of the fusion monsters, Mariam, which was its creator, and it now has the ability to combine human minds and souls with machines.
Oh, good.
Eventually, with the end goal of making a kind of super joining of all of humanity as some kind of god gestalt.
The ultimate expression of gravity.
In the end, kind of doing this out of a love for humanity, not a hatred of them. Kind of eliminating all suffering.
As all the best JoJo villains tend to do. They're just really misunderstood good guys, if you think about it. Just torturing people was just a road to things being okay. Bucci.
There can be a little bit of suffering along the way for ultimate happiness.
Yeah, exactly. This is something. It's not fascist, okay? It's just looking out for people. Everyone.
And at the moment, whilst it still be the final form of the stand is still being perfected, it's just being used to fuse criminals into machines, so they are forced into servitude of the city.
Yeah, they were. I'm starting to think that all of you walked away from watching Psycho Pass not siding with the giant cyber brain that wants to exploit everyone for a perfect society. What? Are you kidding me? People.
Perfect society.
Perfect society. Can you not understand the two words perfect and society? We're supposed to live in that. Anyway, Neo Babel Chained Beast 7 Torque is a level 8 Dark Fusion Machine monster with 2800 attack and defense. This card must first be special summoned by the effect of a Neo Babel card. You do not use polymerization. This card is treated as a drone token while on the field. Okay. This card cannot be
all
destroyed.
of the machines of the archetype are, except for Apollo.
Oh, okay. That's cool. This card cannot be destroyed by a card effect or by battle. If the effect of a monster your opponent controls is activated, you can negate that activation, then destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls in the same column as that monster. Then place that monster face up as a continuous spell in your opponent's spell and trap zone in that same column. You only activate the effect of this card once per turn.
So the idea is, as you can see on the stand behind it, it's got the chains. The chains grab you, drag you up, and hang you on the wall.
That's some heinous stuff.
Not a good personality. Toxic individual, serial killer's entity like that. Bad,
someone will learn how to mount people using chains and make that their whole personality. Ugh. Now, if they were a real serial killer, they would learn some flensing techniques. Now, that's artistry. Okay, so
we do have
walk
a little
me through
bit of
what
time.
the typical like sequence of this would be. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of getting bits and pieces of the idea of how this is supposed to work, but from
Mhm.
like an outsider's perspective, I'm having a hard
Yeah.
time wrapping my head around like the big picture. Could you walk me through something
Yep.
like a usual course of action?
Okay, so you're not allowed to have anything else on the field when you activate it to summon the starter. So you'll start with just your hand of cards. You could probably play quite a few hand traps in this deck, just because like you don't specifically need the Babel cards in your hand, but you do need a kind of critical mass of them in your deck for it to be like effective as a deck.
Makes sense.
Um, you shuffle away your entire hand. You summon Apollo. Apollo then sits as a 3,000 attack kind of wall. One of your opponent's options is they can just brute force it, smash Apollo in the face, and then beat you up. They can ignore the game if they really try to. I don't want to force people to play my game.
Hey,
But
you know what? Having multiple solutions is the hallmark of these kinds of games.
exactly. So Apollo puts down Vault. Vault then sets up your building. So you have to have a room in the furthest one to start in, and that immediately will get an intruder counter on it. That's like they have started. The other three rooms are known because of the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh, but could be in any order, and also could be events like the turret card. You can have them then activate all of them to have them on the field, or keep them face down if you really want to. There's not really a good reason to. You can switch out the rooms for events and other rooms with Apollo, as long as they haven't been they don't have the party in them. And your opponent activates the different effects by resolving specific things, like Drone Bay. You have more monsters, you've beaten the drones. You can move to the next room. So the intruder counter goes on a card to the left, closer to the vault. And then once you get to the vault, there's a final boss fight. You beat the boss, you get the loot.
Okay. That
And then usually you kill them.
Okay, cool. No, actually, I'm glad that you walked me through that because I think I was making that more complex than it actually was. Part of my brain was like, there's gonna be some kind of effect that keeps my opponent from using zones that aren't at a certain point after the intruder
Hmm.
counter. But now I know that it's just more of an abstract progression meter as opposed to affecting usage on the board by itself. So that's good.
Mhm. Um,
And yeah, so it kind of feels like this is the thing that it's a sentiment I see every once in a while in the player base is that Yu-Gi-Oh is a game where you have 100 different kinds of games in it depending on your archetype. And this really exemplifies it because this is based off of a Shadowrun-esque scenario, but it also feels kind of like a board game.
mhm.
It's very much giving me what is it, that Ravensburger Disney board game Villainous. It has a lot of like
Hmm.
position based stuff. I'm getting a lot of energy about that, which I think is really cool because that's definitely not something that anyone has taken advantage of in the Yu-Gi-Oh game, and it's a very wild interpretation of column play. So I think this is pretty sweet.
Mhm. We do have a little bit of time. Would it be all right if I pointed out a few other highlight cards?
Oh please.
Firstly, I want to show because it's funny. If you go to the second fusion monster in the extra deck, Neo Babel Goddess Mariam. This is
Mm-hmm.
the kind of fusing together consciousness lady who is in a tank next to Apollo currently.
Ooh. Alrighty. Neo-Babel Goddess Miriam, level 8 light psychic fusion monster, 0 attack, 3000 defense. This card must first be special summoned by the effect of a Neo-Babel card. You do not use polymerization. This card cannot be targeted by card effects or for attacks. If a monster is sent from the field to the graveyard, place that monster in its owner's spell and trap zone as an equipped spell equipped to this card that gives it 500 defense. And during the end phase, if all main spell and trap zones are full, you win the game!
Congrats, you did it! You fused all of humanity into a single consciousness. Congrats!
Yay! Ah, I love ending A, the machine god.
Mhm. I made sure it was during the end phase, so it's like very possible for you to interrupt this if you're the opponent. But I thought it would be fun.
No, and I think it gives it a pretty fair amount of time so that you don't just get tricked into something and now you're just stuck with an auto win/lose condition if things go poorly. So it affects monsters out of the field of the graveyard. Just in any way, that's amazing.
So your opponent can combo off, but if you can stop them and they've been sending a bunch of stuff to the graveyard, you do just win.
Yeah, like if they're just link summoning like wild, then it's like, nah. You better. This is like the tax dragon on steroids, okay? You watch your material usage. I guess this also makes Xyz monsters uniquely qualified to help deal with this.
Because these monsters, by combining our efforts together in a vertical manner, we can defeat anything.
If you stand on my shoulders and then they stand on their shoulders,
By lifting each other up, by uplifting each other, we can defeat capitalism.
yes, Xyz monsters. How did I not see it before? Truly, it is the summoning mechanic of the proletariat. What is
I knew RB
fusion
had something
if not
right.
consumption? What is synchro if not the alienation of our labor? What is link summoning if not online spam chain emails? It is Xyz monsters that will show us the way.
Together we will high five the sky.
Yeah!
Oh.
All right, Astral, it's time to read The Condition of the Worker by Karl Marx. Yuma, you can't even... You have ADHD, you can't do that.
I've never seen you read theory once.
It's okay, I'll just yell at people online. Now that's praxis.
I'm going back in the key, Yuma.
I'm really feeling the flow of this argument on Twitter.
Good night, Yuma.
Okay, we have a few minutes. Are there any other highlight cards you want to talk about?
I
Stop me
guess
from
I should
shitposting?
show one of the monsters. I think probably Enforcer. So the very first monster.
All right, Neo-Babel
This is-
Enforcer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is like a normal version. Each of the monsters are a normal kind of version of the fusion monster. So this is your average cop bot.
Got it. All right, Neo-Babel Enforcer, level 4 light machine, 2000 attack and defense. This card is treated as a drone token while on the field. Cannot be summoned unless you control a Neo-Babel card. Quick effect, target a monster on the field. Special summon this card from your hand, then negate the effects of that target, and it cannot attack while this card is face up on the field. Quick effect, return this card to the hand. You can only activate this. Oh, wow, that's just good. Oh my god.
And one of the rooms does search a monster.
Oh, well, there we go. Yeah, so it's a hand trap that gets you a 2000 body, and it only lasts while it's face up on the field, but, you know, sometimes that's all you need if they only have on-summon effects. God, okay, yeah, for a boss deck, this makes for a pretty effective foot soldier.
You've got powerful options, but your options start to dwindle as your opponent resolves conditions. You're trying to be a hard control deck, and so you need to try and snag as much value as you can. And if you can, also if you're like, just the ability to get rid of the interrupt by popping them, I feel is quite good. All of the monsters kind of share that trait. Each of them only has its effect whilst it's on the field. So if you can pop them, you can get rid of the extra effect.
Yeah, as long as you deal with the pigs, then you're good.
Exactly. Blow them up.
Just get rid of them. Hey, CD Projekt Red, why do we help cops in Cyberpunk? Tell me that. What's going on? What's going on there? Anyway, that's all the social commentary I have for this 15 minutes. Is there anything else that we want to highlight or focus on before we go to that Nova scale?
No, I think we've gotten most of everything important covered.
All right, sick. So, Nova scale. 4 qualities. We're starting with novelty, and I got to give it a 5. We already talked about just now how unique the setup is for this deck. There's a lot of thought that went into building essentially a dungeon, building whatever framing device you want for your series of trials through there. And honestly, this is a kind of a cool thing to flesh out, because I'd love to see how different decks would tackle going through this scenario. Like, which one's specific tools let them handle which specific scenarios. I think that'd be wicked cool. So, 5 on that one. This has a huge amount of replayability just for dueling against. I'd love to see it in
Yes,
action.
you know your lines, but do you know your routes through my dungeon?
Yeah. Okay, objectivity. I don't think I saw anything too egregious when it came to problem-solving card text. Um, yeah, nothing
By
comes to
putting
mind
so
right off the
much
top
of it in front of you, I made it hard to tell.
Legitimately, look, I'm not. I haven't been incorporated into the Merriam machine yet. I don't have a supercomputer brain. So sometimes things fall through the cracks, but if something is like really like not working, I will notice it. And so far, everything looks pretty cool. Power level wise, honestly, I also think it's fine. Nothing that's been presented so far has been like radical. Um the fact that Vault Babel like gets you a double draw during your draw phase is interesting, but considering you have to shuffle away your entire hand to get things started, I think it's a very control deck-esque effect to
Mhm.
have. The longer things go, the more advantage you accrue, so it makes sense to me. Um, I think it's a 5 for sure. All right, versatility. So this, I think we can't play it in anything. Um,
Mhm.
by the
This was mostly intentional.
and there you go. You achieved your goal on that one. Because yeah, by having to shuffle away your entire hand and going through Apollo setting up your game plan, you are very much on this one track of gameplay. There's not a lot of pivot room outside of it. There's a lot of options with all the room cards that you can get your hands
Mhm.
on. But outside of that, it's just kind of us. Maybe you could do some goofy stuff like running Uriah.
Theoretically, you could discard a bunch of cards to the graveyard, like cycle through your deck, because I don't. It doesn't check the graveyard. But then you also can't use link monsters because Apollo is a link monster with an upwards pointing arrow,
Yeah, so
and
we
it
are
must be
locking
summoned
that
to the
off.
extra monster zone.
Oh yeah.
If you're really desperate to summon Baron de Fleur, you probably can, but you know what? Good on you.
If you can find a way through it, then I guess you deserve it. Um, so yeah, versatility is a 1. There's some very niche scenarios you can splash something in, but otherwise, it really is just itself. And awesomeness, look, it's a 5. Very clearly, there was a lot of effort and work that went into creating the base game and its setting by itself, and then taking that, looking at the tools Yu-Gi-Oh gave you, and finding a way to translate that into gameplay is honestly inspired. I like the idea that the back row has now become like the setting for the mission. You have a way to show them moving through it. That's some Kino game design stuff right there. So I can't help but be impressed by it. 16 on the Nova scale for all this. This is a pretty fantastic set of cards.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for showing them off. Holy cow. Anything else? Anything you want to top this off with before we move on to our next batch?
No, nothing I can think of. Won't keep you any longer.
Hey, no worries. Like I said, it was a pleasure, and I hope you didn't feel rushed today. Uh,
No, I didn't.
Thank you so much for your time, and good luck on your stuff.
Thanks. Good luck. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.
Don't forget to stack that paper, folks. I'm gonna say it right now. We said a lot of very communist things right now, and I stand by all of them. The fact of the matter, though, is that we do still live in a very capitalist system, and so I am required, in fact, to try to stack that paper on top of everything else. Cyberpunk custom Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting that last batch of cards. Hello, Orchid Mantis. How's it going? Don't hate the player, I hate the game. I very much hate the game. I very much want to destroy capitalism with my bare hands. Alrighty. I think my cards are more or less ready. They feel cohesive enough by now. Sweet. Well, I look forward to your submission on the Patreon document so that we might see them. Alright, that's Mega Combies right there. Okay. Do we have anyone else that's on the schedule today? Do we have Beluga Master? Do we have Jackalow? Do we have Lemon or Blueberry? What is it? Was it Blueberry Spice Head? That's a great name, by the way. What's it doing, book? Yes. I'm here now. Sweet. Okay, well then let's go ahead, and I don't see anyone else. But in my defense, I was told 2 p.m. I might be a bit late. No, Beluga, you're fine. I started early because we got a lot more people in today than I was expecting. So I want to start a little early, but we got someone else done, so it's all good. Beluga Master is up on the list first, so I'm gonna go ahead and we'll get Beluga Master in here, and then Lemon, if Jackalope doesn't show up by then, we'll get you your cards covered. Alrighty, so that being the case, Beluga, whenever you're ready, make your way into the Discord chat and we shall begin. In the meantime, I'm going to reset this timer and I'm going to put it up here. And I'm going to use it correctly this time. I'm definitely not going to forget because I am enthralled with the creation and the discussing.
Hello.
I hear from your laughter that you don't trust me that I'm going to remember that.
I mean, I do try to keep my presentations on the smaller side. So,
oh well,
we'll
yeah.
we'll probably reach it just by the nature of I only have like 6 cards to present.
And I do appreciate your respect for my time and the time of the other presenters here. That being said, that does not factor into my ability and or inability to remember to press buttons at a particular time. You'd think after all these years of Master Duel I would know how to press buttons, but nope. Alrighty.
It's a particular skill set.
Alrighty, well, Beluga, Leonon, thank you so much for stopping by. How you doing? How's it going?
Going good.
Let me go ahead and unspoiler this block here. I have not seen anything about this yet. Ah, yes, we're back to Ace Combat.
Yes.
Alrighty, so for those of you who weren't here last time, Leonon showed off cards based on the hit Jet Fighter Simulator. Would you call it a simulator?
It's an arcade game.
Arcade game. Ace Combat. Is there any kind of preface or anything you want to remind the audience of before we get back into this thing?
I forget to write once per turns on these cards, and that's fine. Also, we got some memes this time.
We love the memes. Should I assume that there are hard once per turns on these, or should we just go as is?
Just go as is.
Excellent. Okay, before I start the timer really quickly, NSIG, it's going to be, once you sign up to the Patreon, there's going to be a form that you can submit. It'll be one of the posts to the Patreon, or it also could be it is also posted in the Patron Discord, or section of the Discord. If you go there, you can submit your stuff, and then that'll be on the list. We can't get you there's a place you can pick your day. Don't pick today, because we're all filled up for today. But for the rest of the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, those are totally open for joining in. Okay. I have said my piece on that one. Oh no, I made the screen too big. We can't see all the cards. I messed up. The spoiler betrayed the size of it. No. I'm gonna fix that. Okay, I think it's a little more. Oh, there's so much card. Discord can barely handle it. Okay, there we go. That's fixed. Nova Scale's been reset. Starting the clock. We are starting with Harling's Mirror. Quick play spell card. You can only activate one of this card per turn. When this card is activated, choose one of the following effects. Monsters that mention the 3 strikes gain 250 attack for each other card you control that mentions the 3 strikes. Banish all cards on the field face up. Both players' life points are halved. Wait, so do those happen concurrently?
That is the intention.
Huh. So you play this. Your 3 strikes associated monsters gain the boost. and then every face-up card is then banished.
It's supposed to be one or the other. On the dock, it is in bulletin list format.
Yeah, okay, there we go. That's it.
That didn't translate over to Discord, apparently.
That's fair. Okay, I totally skipped over that. Okay, so you can pick one. Okay, I'm feeling a lot better about this card because for a second I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so so we have like a modal boost / turn off everyone's cards button just in case. Pretty good. Now, I have to imagine that Harling's Mirror references this effect here in a particular way. What's the background on that?
So in the game, Harling's Mirror is a metaphorical thing, because in the story, a very particularly in-world controversial character commissioned a painting of the space elevator that he spent a lot of taxpayer monies to build, and people were not happy about that. But the intention was for this painting to be like a visual representation of his hope. But a lot of people look at the painting and are like, this is what's wrong with the world. So that duality was something I wanted to represent.
Okay. Alrighty. Our next one is, can you hear me? Normal trap card. If your opponent activates an effect that would destroy your monster that mentions the 3 strikes, negate that effect, then special summon a level 6 or lower trigger monster that mentions the 3 strikes to your field, and 2 autonomous drone from your extra deck to your opponent's field. You can only use the effect of "Can you hear me?" per turn. You can treat this card as a level 2 spare monster in your graveyard. Oh,
I forgot to write once.
That was a little bit of a trip up there. But yeah, so you only use this effect once per turn. Okay, so if I remember correctly, autonomous drones are like the easy to pop monsters that get you something when you destroy them. And
we haven't seen any.
Oh, we haven't? There was something last time.
Last time we had access code talker, but you can summon it from deck.
Oh,
from
yeah. Was it Bandog, I think it is? I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bandog. Okay, there we go. I'm getting my vehicles mixed up. And I remember something about level 2 spares being pretty important to have on hand. But this also feels like we've got another reference on our hands. So what's going on with this one?
This is actually a reference to the first gameplay trailer for Ace Combat 7. Throughout the entire back half of the 2-minute trailer, you just constantly hear various characters from the game going, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?"
Okay. I have to imagine it's some kind of like high octane action fest going on, because otherwise that sounds like that'd be very tedious.
Yes, but it's become a meme in the community because of that.
That's awesome. Okay. Strider 1 Trigger is a level 6 wind attribute warrior monster with 2000 attack and 1300 defense. This card's name is treated as the 3 strikes while on the field or in the graveyard. You can reveal this card in your hand. If you do, destroy 2 cards that mention the 3 strikes on the field and special summon this card. Once per turn, when another card that mentions the 3 strikes is special summoned to the field, you can destroy a face-up card your opponent controls. Okay, so if I remember correctly from last time, this is going to be a series of me pulling from my mind palace to make sure we're up to date on stuff. The 3 strikes is the recurring player character across the game.
Yes.
And so this is one version of them. And we also have some cards that like benefit from being destroyed, which was something I remember not having enough of last time, and that was something I was worried about. So it's good to see that we have them here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. Then next is Strider 2 Count, level 6 fire attribute warrior monster, 2100 attack, 1300 defense. If this card is special summoned, shuffle any amount of cards in your graveyard that mention the 3 strikes into the deck and draw a card. All monsters you control whose name is the 3 strikes gain 500 attack and defense. You can only use the following effect of Strider 2 Count once per turn. Once per each. While you control a monster whose name is the 3 strikes, you can negate the activation of a spell or trap card, and if you do not control a monster whose name is the 3 strikes, destroy this card and special summon a trigger monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Okay, so because Strider 2 is not treated as the 3 strikes, I have to imagine that Strider 1 is Strike's call sign at some point, and then Strider 2 is one of their teammates in that group.
Yes. So Trigger and Count, they are the character's call signs for the player protagonist and his wingman.
Sick.
And you go through the game. As the player character, you go through 4 squadrons, and Count is with you through the latter 3 of those.
Hell yeah. Now that's the buddy system. Now, is Strider the name of that particular squadron?
Yes.
Cool. Alrighty. And then last up on the list here, we've got, let me scroll this up a little bit. Autonomous Drone 11F Raven. A rank 4 wind attribute cyber succeeds monster, requiring any 2 level 4 effect monsters as material, with 2500 attack and 1000 defense. The owner of this card can use your opponent's monsters as material for the Xyz summon of this card, but special summon it to their field if you do so. If this card is special summon an ejectable frame token, which is a level 1 light machine monster with 0 attack and defense, in defense position. If this card would be destroyed, destroy the token first. If the token is destroyed, all monsters on the field can attack a second time this turn. If this monster battles a card named the 3 strikes, destroy this card. Okay. So, we can make this using our opponent's level 4 monsters. They just get it.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I'm rereading this. So, as far as I'm walking away with this, you take their monsters, make Raven. That Raven makes them a frame token. You go to battle phase, you punch the frame, and then all of your stuff just got double attacking.
Alternatively, you can just attack into Raven twice. Because Raven pops the token, and that will trigger the effect to give the double attack.
That is true. If you're big enough to just run over Raven, you can do that first and not even have to deal with it, and maybe get some damage in, presuming it's an attack position.
Though why you wouldn't summon in an attack position, I don't know.
Okay, so I guess the next thing I want to ask is, we mentioned earlier that we summoned 2 autonomous drones from the extra deck with Can You Hear Me? Will there eventually be a monster just called Autonomous Drone for this to pull from? Or is it supposed to be 2 autonomous drone monsters that we summon to their field?
It's supposed to be 2 autonomous drone monsters.
Okay. Oh, well, I can't wait to see what the rest of the autonomous drones are going to be. Okay, so Raven will still make a token even if we summon it off of Can You Hear Me?
Yes.
So that still does that. That's kind of cool. I'm digging. Also, I've been playing too much Armored Core recently, so Raven is just sending me for a loop.
I mean, both games have AC in their abbreviation.
They're Raven, the enemy is deploying fighter jets to your location. You should be able to take them out. And then you fucking die because because John Ace Combat is too powerful. Alrighty. Well, that's a pretty good series of cards. I like how we've expanded on the core ones. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like was missing from last time. My memory might not be serving me well, but it feels like we have a lot more of a robust core to work with here. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that we want to talk about? Any combos, any interactions?
None that I can remember off the top of my head, because it's been a while since I wrote these cards down.
Fair point. Alrighty, then I'll go ahead and break out the Nova scale, and we'll see how this see where this stands. Okay, so novelty. We have our cool squadron of flying machines. We have the kind of important monster archetype here, but once again, it is a monster that the deck is built around that doesn't exist. There is no the 3 strikes, but considering what you've told me about Ace Combat, that it's a particular protagonist playing a number of different roles, I actually think that is brilliant and awesome. So I love that. I like how wild some of these effects are. I like how Raven works. I gotta give it a 5. I think these cards are just sick as hell.
Hell yeah.
Objectivity. I'm not gonna lie. Having a quick play spell that just says banish all face-up cards on the field with no other restrictions, that's scary. Even having both players' life points is a boon. Like, if you're going second, you go, okay, Harling's Mirror, I'm at 4K, you might be less because you paid life points. I'm going to set up damage, and I don't have to go full OTK. I just need one solid monster to go in there. That's really powerful all by itself. As for the rest of the cards here, they're pretty cool. I like how Can You Hear Me works. I like how Raven works, but none of them are, like, super ridiculous. Raven is, like, a very specific lava golem that lives in your extra deck. Your opponent's not always going to have 2 spare level 4 effect monsters on board to work with, so honestly, it's, like, worse than any given kaiju, so I can't fault it for just being a free, use my opponent's monsters for stuff kind of card. And the Strider cards just kind of work well together in a cool way. I think I have to give it a 3 purely because I worry what Harling's Mirror gets up to. Versatility. So on the flip side of that, I cannot imagine a deck that does not want to be playing Harling's Mirror. But the rest of them are very, very specific for the 3 strikes associates deck. I can't imagine us, like, maybe you tech in Raven as a side deck, as an extra deck pick as well, in a meta where level 4 monsters are big. In fact, you could do some heinous garbage where if your opponent has 2 level 4 monsters, you play a card like Wonder Xyz to Xyz summon on your opponent's turn to steal those monsters and give them Raven. So those 2 are actually kind of splashable, depending on the situation. So, it's another 3 as well on versatility. Like, that's... There's a lot of just generic good stuff that's hiding away in these cards. And awesomeness. I mean, we spent almost the entire time talking about, like, the references, where they come from. I've already talked about how swell I think the mechanics work together and how cool it is that you've created this wholly unique vector with which to tell that story. I gotta give it a 5. I love it. It kicks ass. So 16 for your new Armored Core cards. You hit it out of the park. And I'm looking forward for Harling's Mirror to be a $250 chase secret out of the new set, Skies of Rebellion.
Let's go.
Let's go! All right, well, thank you so much. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything to top this off before we move on to our next guest?
Next month, I think will probably be the last entry for the Three Strikes archetype, unless I come up with something else in the future.
All right, well, I'll be keeping an ear out so I can hear you about it, okay?
All right. You have a good one.
See, take care. All right. Hey, Yu-Gi-Oh! Commander, how's it going? How you doing? Dude, that video you put out, I think it was last night or the night before, I forget, but I watched it last night. Your latest Commander video, Yu-Gi-Oh! Commander video. Folks, go watch domain format videos. That stuff is cash. Also, Double Ojo, I saw that you put a really heartfelt message. Thank you. I sorry I couldn't respond, but I wanted to make sure that our guest had their time. So, but thank you so much for the kind words. And Einsig, once you're signed up, you'll just send me a DB link to my DM. That's all you gotta do. It was really fun to make, and I'm starting to take pride in my work. Hey, that's one of the biggest things. If you look at your work and you say, I'm proud of this, that's huge. Because other people will see that. That is not something to take lightly. If you have something and you feel really good about it and you feel like deeply connected to it, that will reach out to people. So good job. Okay, so that's me being schmaltzy for a moment. Lemon, how's it going?
It's going. I was talking with someone else about what I'm presenting today, for a while here, and looking into other cards that have been presented in the past. I will not indulge because it's not positive, but I'm not as kind as you when I look at custom cards. Evidenced by the fact that I'm like, the PSCT here is wrong yesterday.
I will say you have an edge when it comes to talking about certain things. But you know, I appreciate that you can counterbalance my abilities to see the best in things with a bit of a critical eye. I think it's a good combination.
Next time you do one with Hasher, get me in on that.
I'll see if I can convince him to bring in the Gordon Ramsay of our trio.
Yeah.
No, not Gordon Ramsay. That's the wrong critical British guy. Who's the American Idol dude?
Oh.
Simon something, right?
Simon Cowell. Yeah.
Simon Cowell. Yeah, you can be our Simon Cowell.
At least I'm honest. Yeah.
Alrighty.
I guess to take 2 seconds. I brought up Gemini in a call in your Discord, and they went, and they're like, "Have you heard of Wonderworld?" And I'm like, "What is that?" And they show me their archetype. I'm like, "This is terrible."
Oh man,
I'm gonna be so real. I looked at it and I went,
constructive criticism? Did you like help him out?
I did as best I could, but I realized that the level 12 synchro fusion wins you the game instantly if you make it, because you can't respond to it, and it summons a guy that hand loops you not once per turn, not hard once per turn. So you hand loop them for 2, and then the next turn you summon a second one and hand loop them for 2 more, and they can't respond to it. So that's 6 cards. So the game's over. And none of the other cards matter because that's a thing you can do.
Oh wow, yeah, that's getting a 1 in objectivity. That is not a fun card to play against.
Yeah, that's a thing. But
okay,
anyway,
well,
on
enough
to
about
today.
It's time for dragons.
Dragons. It is the 25th anniversary of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I figured we might as well do something a bit old for me and a bit old for Yu-Gi-Oh. So this is the classic. Take a normal monster from Legend of Blue Eyes and make it a deck. But I did this 3 years ago, and now I'm fixing it.
Whoa, the remastered version.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
This is One-Eyed. I sent you the deck. Let me send you the link with all the actual individual cards. That's the deck list.
Oh, okay.
Because as always, I test these, which I don't think other people do that much. That's the
Well,
difference.
yeah. Some people just make it because they like the effect and see it on
Yeah.
the page, and some people are more design oriented. They want to see how it works in practice.
I think that's the I think that if you don't do it, you're gonna end up with a situation where, wait, can't you do this? And then you're just like, I never thought about it.
And we
'Cause
do
I
we
never
do hear that a
fucked
lot
up.
from people coming on to show some stuff off here.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's get the individual cards here. But there we go. Alrighty, let's get that right here. Okay, so before we get into the individual cards, what was our design philosophy when it came to one-eyeds?
I looked at I started with a different card. If you ever heard of 10,000 Dragon, this is a card that exists in the game and has nothing to do besides be a celebration of the fact that there are 10,000 cards in Yu-Gi-Oh. So I went, what if there's a deck for this? And then the idea of sacrificing 5 monsters to bring them out occurred to me. So I went, okay, what is a card with 2,000 stats? So I can do that. One-Eyed Shield Dragon has exactly 2,000 collective stats. And is a dragon, and is old, so it has a lot of references. You can do a lot of references with that. So that's where it came from originally. So it's the idea of making making a bunch of guys hit the board and make 10,000 Dragon do things.
Okay, all right. I also like the idea that it's literally like a bookend, right? Like the 1, 2, 10,000. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, let's not tarry any longer. It's time for One-Eyed Sword Dragon, a level 3 wind dragon monster with 1500 attack and 500 defense. If you control a monster whose total attack and defense equals 2000, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this monster is special summoned, you can add a one-eyed card from your deck to your hand, except One-Eyed Sword Dragon. You cannot link summon the turn you activate this effect. If this card is tributed to summon a monster, equip this card to the summoned monster. A monster equipped with this card gains the following effect. Once per turn, you can add a one-eyed card from your graveyard to your hand. Ooh. Now, it doesn't come with its own effect to tribute itself, so we're relying on something else to do that. Is that correct?
10,000 Dragon tributes the monsters it summons. The tribute when it's summoned, when something is tributed to summon it, that effect and the summon effect are fairly static across the archetype. The whole idea is when you give them a thing, or when you summon 10,000, or when you summon one of the other bosses that are in the deck, you're gonna get bonus effects on it.
Well, hell yeah. Okay, I dig. Let's go ahead and check out One-Eyed. Where are you hiding? One-Eyed Archer Dragon. Level 3 wind, 1100 attack, 900 defense. Looks like it has the usual special summon from hand effect.
Mm-hmm.
If this card is special summoned, you can destroy a monster your opponent controls whose attack and defense is less than 2000. If this card is tributed, you can summon. If this card is tributed to summon a monster, equip it, and then that equipped monster gains the following effect. During the main phase, as a quick effect, you can target any equipped card you control, destroy all other cards in that card's column. Ooh, okay. So if your opponent has like a board set up already, you get everything put together, tribute them for 10,000, specifically put Archer in that zone, and then you just nuke that card.
It can be any of your equipped cards. It doesn't have to be 10,000 Archer Dragons.
Oh, right. What am I talking about? It just gives Archer. Archer just gives the effect, but you can use any of them.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hot damn. All right, One-Eyed Union.
One-Eyed Union's the spell.
All right. Normal spell card. Select any number of one-eyed monsters on your field or in your graveyard, and if you do, add up to 2 dragon monsters from your deck to your hand that have the same total attack and defense as those monsters, but different names. Also, you cannot use dragon monsters as link material during the turn you activate this effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard to add a dragon with question mark attack and defense from your deck to your hand. I wonder what we're searching with that.
Well, it's not exactly like I'm not gonna hide it. Technically, you can search
The
Odd Eyes
Winged
Revolution
Dragon of
Dragon.
Ra, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, surprise.
Woohoo! Add 2 different names else you can. Okay, so I might be missing something. Why is it letting us select any number of one-eyed monsters?
Because it doesn't matter. They all have the same collective attack defense total. So you're going to select 2 of them, or you're going to select one of the boss monsters that have 4,000 collective, and then search 2 monsters. Otherwise, there's probably some shenanigans you can do with it. It's just there so that you have to have one-eyed around to search a dragon.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, because it seems suboptimal to ever pick 2, because there doesn't seem to be a benefit for picking more than 1.
If you pick 2, you get to search 2.
Same total as those monsters, but with different names. Also, well, I think the add up to you could do no matter what.
What?
Because it's select any number of them, and if you
then
do,
add
up to 2
add
dragon
up
monsters.
to 2 dragon monsters in the deck to your hand that have the same total attack defense as those monsters with different names.
Oh, so you could pick one that has the 2,000 combined and one that has the 4,000 combined.
It's 2,000, 2,000, and then you can search up to 4,000, or you can search up to 6,000. But I mean, that's gonna be iffy with how the deck is. Locked out of link summoning, so you're not dragon linking. Theoretically, you can search something with 4,000 collective and a 2,000 collective if you have an extra deck guy, but you're gonna need to use that card early enough in the combo. That's not gonna be super easy.
Oh, okay. When we say same total as those monsters, we mean those monsters combined, not like those monsters and we take a look at them individually each.
Yeah, no.
Got it. Okay. Now I am picking up your wavelength on that.
That is a little confusing in retrospect. That makes sense.
But no, so it's any of those bands, we can pick those to get to that particular range. We get up to 2 of those, and then once in the graveyard, we get 10,000. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Great searcher, especially because it's so easy to get these guys on the board anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, and then there's 3-eyed Arsenal Dragon. Well, that's 2 more eyes than normal. What's going on there?
It's the 4th fusion.
Alrighty. 3-eyed Arsenal Dragon, level 9 Wind Dragon Fusion monster with question mark attack and defense, requiring 3 one-eyed monsters with different names. You can only special summon this monster by attributing the above material. This card gains original attack and defense equal to the attack and defense of the monster cards equipped to it. When this card is special summoned, you can select 3 one-eyed cards from your deck or graveyard, and if you do, your opponent randomly chooses 1 to add to your hand, and then shuffle the remaining into the deck. During the main phase, when your opponent activates a monster effect as a quick effect, you can destroy monster cards you control whose total attack and defense equal or exceed the attack and defense of the activated monsters, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do, equip that monster to this card. You can only activate each effect of this card once per turn. Okay, so this lets us play the deck without necessarily having to have 10,000 in hand.
Yeah, I mean, he costs like $3,000 to own, so I hope there's something. They're not reprinting him. I
don't know, they reprinted the Astral Utopia.
I mean, I guess you're right.
But they better not.
Better be a common.
Okay, so we get 3 of them onto the board, tribute them all off. We get this. 3-eyed Arsenal will have 6,000 attack and defense.
Collective, yeah.
Collectively. Okay, so it'll have different, like, combined stats depending on which one we pick. Okay, so it's not going to be a gigantic titan in that regard. Put that on the board.
It's also weird because that's how you'd think, but the equip effect is mandatory and not once per turn.
So what does that mean?
It means, or it's mandatory and once per turn, my bad. Which means that you only get to equip it to the first thing you tribute it for.
Okay, yeah, so once we get all 3 on the field, we tribute them.
Whatever ones haven't been brought back or one of the name. I've got some examples you'll see at some point, hopefully.
Yeah, we just gotta make sure that we're using, like, different ones so that we're not stacking on any one in particular and losing out on effects for that.
Yep.
So we get this. We get a new free one randomly. And then we have a negate. Destroy monster cards you control whose total attack defense equal the or exceed the attack defense of the monster. And then that monster gets stolen. So we'll still have like a net loss in stats unless we match it perfectly, but we are still getting their attack and defense because we have negated them and equipping it. That's nasty. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, next is Dragonus, the One-Eyed Dragon Knight. There she is.
First fusion. Yep.
Level 3 Wind Warrior Fusion Monster, 1200 attack, 800 defense, requiring a one-eyed monster plus a monster with 2000 total attack and defense as material. You can also special summon this card by attributing the above material. During the main phase, immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a dragon monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except dragon monsters. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon a one-eyed monster from your grave whose total attack and defense... Oh no, one-eyed monsters from the graveyard whose total attack and defense equal 4,000. And if this card is equipped to a monster, it gains the following effect. Once per turn, you can special summon this card. You can only activate each effect of this card once per turn. Now, do we have a card that will equip this to a monster?
Yes. One-Eyed Petite Dragon has the effect to equip a one-eyed monster from your graveyard to a 10,000 dragon you control. Otherwise, you're not equipping it.
Okay,
but
okay.
It does have the effect in case you get that situation on.
Also, fantastic edit on that, by the way.
It's the only one that has the edit.
Ah!
Forgot about it.
It's so good! Okay, so we make this another outlet for our one-eyes to be attributed to go onto a monster.
Mm-hmm.
Gives us a free normal summon to get more of them out there. And then it comes back if we want to. Alrighty. Say again?
They said it looked like a Muppet.
I can kind of see it. Honestly, it's giving Squeezo vibes from Monster Rancher.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed of that.
Alrighty. Well, we still have a few more minutes on the clock. Is there anything else that we want to focus on? Anywhere we should direct our one eye towards?
I think the most notable remaining ones are probably Spirit and Fairy, which is the other like ones that are just normal monster looking bastards. Spirit Dragon is based on Spirit Ryu. It can discard a number of cards. You gain 1,000 attack and defense for each card discarded until the end phase. And if it's tributed, it can equip itself. And then if your opponent activates card effect, you can discard any number of cards, negate face-up cards in the field equal to the number of cards discarded. So it gives it a targeted or an on-field negate, not targeted, but it's an on-field negate. Yeah. For the 10,000. Fairy Dragon is the only one that has to be normal summoned, and it'll special summon any dragon from deck whose attack defense equals 2,000, and then you have to add a different dragon monster with a different attack and defense, but the same total, so another 2,000 total, but not if it's summoned a monster with 500 attack, you can't search another monster with 500 attack.
Okay.
The main thing you're doing with that is summoning Materiactor Gigadra and adding to your hand Tiameton. These are in the side deck.
I'm happy anytime we get to play Tiameton.
Yeah, Tiameton is a searchable actual hand trap in this deck. Because you're often gonna just put your guy in the extra monster zone, your 3-eyed if you end on it. You're gonna have 2 cards in a column because all of your spell trap zones can be taken up.
Yeah, so you can just by yourself get this online and then just threaten any column.
Yeah, you can have a column of 3-eyed, 10,000, and a spell trap, and then that'll do it.
Hell yeah.
Besides that, we've got retrains of a few different old non-effect fusion dragons in Metal Dragon, Aqua Dragon, Kaiser Dragon, and Darkfire, which I think are well overdue for something. especially Dark Fire Dragon, because that name's awesome.
Hell yeah, it is. It's not just fire. That's Hiei fire. We got to get that Yu Yu Hakusho representation in here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think. I actually, you know what? No, I don't know what you're saying at all, actually.
Boy, someone needs to get some culture.
I guess I do.
No,
Since
but
we have
honestly,
a little,
it's really good. If you have the chance, watch the Yu Yu Hakusho.
I have a little bit of time left. I am going to send you a duel. Normally, I know I'm known for test hands, but this time I have a duel versus something a little familiar. A full, not scripted, not quite scripted, duel.
All right, so, A unit and Lumen.
It's an all
very different people. Sorry, say again.
It's an alt. I made an alt for this.
Yeah. All right, so Chris Shatters, let's go.
Yeah, we can. I think you've been aware of what they do by now.
Yes,
They're
and I
gonna
have
go
not
through the normal
memorized
combo
them,
line.
but I'm going to trust that there's a lot of goofball shenanigans going on here.
Cocoon gonna search, or Cata Princess. You're gonna do the Cata Princess thing that I've explained every time and it still doesn't make sense. To search a monster and a spell trap and summon Alexandria, then Bombacide, go into Link 2, discard a card for a Resonance Insect, go into the Link 3, search Monarch, and then just banish Monarch for 2 Scout Buggy, Cicada King, and then there you go.
Oh, quiet timer. Okay, so new turn. Giga Dragon tried to do its thing, but I guess Cicada King stopped that.
Yeah, Cicada King stops it. It's Luna and then Imperial from hand to give Luna its effect. Search a spell trap.
Now we're getting Archer.
Archer's gonna try to destroy Luna. It's the only target, so they're gonna use Swallowtail, which is gonna equip it to Archer, which means you can't destroy it because nothing here has less than 2,000 total attack defense. One-Eyed Polly gets negated.
So that goes away. We got
Yeah.
used. Special summoning Spear Dragon. And that's 3 monsters. No, but we're not doing 3. We're doing 2.
Yeah, it's a Dragoness, the One-Eyed Dragon Knight, and then that's gonna
Try to pop that.
equip, and then you're gonna attempt to pop, and it's gonna get negated. It gets destroyed, but then you get to summon 2 back.
We got Cocoon emerging happening.
Cocoon emerging is Book of Moon Icarus, so it's just gonna flip Alexander, which is uses both its negates, and the other card face down. And because it's a contact fuse that tributes, you can use face down monsters.
It's 3-eyed Arsenal Dragon time, baby.
And then
And we're only doing 2 because we already equipped Archer, correct?
yeah, Archer already did his mandatory effect. The thing that's not mandatory is Axe, because Axe is bad otherwise, so you can use it to chain block Arsenal Dragon. Also, it's the only one that wants to be in the grave, so
3 unions. What will be picked, I wonder? Damn, I thought it was going to be Union.
damn.
Shit. Okay, well. I guess we'll search some cards. We'll target those. Get Tiamaton! I've got Sword Dragon.
Tiamaton and Sword Dragon and 3. I promise you, it was an accident that there were 3 cards in that column.
Hey,
Actually did not occur to me. It did work.
There we go. That's out. Special summon the Sword Dragon. Its effect gets this Petite Dragon. Special summon the Petite Dragon. Use its effect, get One-Eyed Armory. Banish the Union. Get a, 10,000 Dragon. And then we're going to build the overlay network for One-Eyed Cannon Dragon. Use its effect. detach both. We're getting back the Sword Dragon.
It equips a level, rank, or link, and I have to be very specific about which one I detach because it matters for later. So you equip the Cicada King from the opponent's graveyard, and it's gonna gain those stats,
All right, okay.
which totals 57, which is just short of using the other monsters and keeping one-eyed in case of, I don't know, Nibiru.
Okay, so we're using the effect of polymerization in graveyard.
Yep,
Polymerization.
which is gonna shuffle from field or graveyard back into deck. It's otherwise just a normal poly that tributes instead of sending.
Okay, so that's what was happening there. Okay.
Yeah, I misclicked. I sent to graveyard instead of from deck. Darkfire Dragon can target a card in the graveyard and revive it, and then equip itself to it.
So that gets a
What
spirit.
it's gonna do? Yeah,
get
Spirit Ryu.
Darkfire.
Spirit Ryu can discard a card and gain 1,000 attack defense. So
And
that's
now-
2k, 2k, or 2k, 4k, and 57, which is 10,000.
And now it's big. Then we'll equip the cannon.
Yeah, the cannon. Yeah, just cannon, I think.
Destroy equal number of
And
cards. You deal no battle damage this turn. Okay. We attack, and that is lethal.
it's 8,100.
Sorry, bugs. You're done.
I thought that showcased it pretty well what it can do.
Yeah, it cycled through all of them so that we can just go through one big combo line and get a bunch of monsters on board, and it even has a way to search 10,000 dragon in it, so you don't have to hard draw it.
Yeah.
You just go whoom, blop. And at any point, if they had like hand trapped you, once you got the
Yeah,
three-eyed
it-
arsenal, it's like you got that unlocked too.
Yeah, that's the reason you have to negate the one-eyed poly in hand there, because if they one-eyed poly, then you have a negate, and you can't use your spell trap negate because you only Alexandra is only once per chain, so you can't do negate the spell trap. They negate you, and then you negate back because you can't do both chains. So it would just it's now or never on that one.
Alrighty. Okay, well, is there anything else that we weren't able to cover on all this, or is it Nova scale time?
There's a couple of funny interactions. The card text specifically saying, if this card is tributed to summon a monster means any effect that would tribute it or card that would tribute it for its summon, which includes any ritual, it includes any tribute summon, it includes one very, very funny other thing, which is Nibiru. If you get Nibiru, your opponent gets all the effects.
Yeah, that would do it.
Which can just actively just be the end of the game.
Hello, I will play with your deck now, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the free negate.
Buddy. Alrighty, well, glad to know all of that going in here. I'll go ahead and start assigning numbers now. Alrighty, so, novelty.
I
So we're
refuse to let you take away points because it's based on a normal monster. I refuse because it doesn't have anything it's based on.
No, that would not be a factor in this one, because you're so right. Old monsters that don't have support. Look, I'm out here giving 5s for Trihorn Dragon cards, okay? It's all good. That's not a factor in here. That being said, this would not be the first archetype that has a bunch of wind dragons that equip to monsters to give them bonus effects, now would it?
I did notice that.
Now, but
they don't really give bonus effects as much in Dragoonity. There's a lot of small things that come from other places that are like tiny little borrowed design aspects that I think make up the deck that were not necessarily intentional, because I didn't know Dragoonity existed when I made these originally.
Well, I like that the way they equip, right? Because like Dragoonery has
Yeah.
gotten really streamlined, where there's a lot of ways to like equip from like automatically equip from zones, as opposed to back in the day where you had to really work for it. This kind of has that same energy where you have to make sure you set things up and then tribute with them to equip. And then it's not wholly for one-eyeds, as you were saying previously.
Yeah.
These can randomly be teched into other Tribute Matters decks. So I think the mechanic by which it equips to a monster is very, very unique. And I like that we're doing one of those old monster retrain archetypes. I'm a sucker for those, so I think it's a 5 in novelty. I think it's pretty good. Objectivity. So I know I don't have to worry about problem solving card text with you. You're the most critical person about that. So that's
I
very
spent
good.
like 3 hours looking through them. I was like, I made fun of someone on stream. I have to be.
I will not.
I checked every single. This card can only have to be once per turn. I checked all of them. I know I keep getting fucked on that. I will not.
So I know you're good on that one, so I don't have to worry about that one. And I didn't see anything that was bad, so we're good on that. Power level wise, I'm torn. Because I think the individual monsters give cool effects for the work you have to put into it. The fact that getting 10,000 to dragon is part of the whole combo, if it goes through, it guarantees you a monster that will one-shot your opponent. That will then come with a variety of additional effects that help to push that through. And on top of that, we have at least 2 monsters that I saw, the Dragonus and the 3-eyed Arsenal Dragon, that helps build stepping stones to get up there to use those monsters to make things. That being said, there are windows with which you can sneak those effects in, because you have to tribute them first, you get the monster, and then those get equipped back onto it. So they're not like... They're easy to deploy, it looks like, but they're not necessarily, like, invincible.
The deck folds to Droll, it folds to Ash, somewhat, depends on when you do it, depends on the hand. It will fold to, like, a single kaiju, because all the effects are on one monster. Any, like, you can't interact with this removal spells is just, it's curtains. Despite it having a lot of spell traps, you can't do anything about Dark Ruler, because all the monsters that are spell traps are giving effects instead of being effects.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing stuff that would feel about on the power level of current cards, and that's the whole reason this part of the scale exists.
Yeah.
So I'm giving it a 5. I think it's perfectly in line with how the game is at this current moment, at least. Versatility. So, another thing that you brought up previously, this works with anything that cares about tributing. So you could run this randomly in ritual decks to give them a little extra juice. Vendred is crying right now because anyone can get material off of these ones, whereas all of its stuff needs to be on the field before it's tributed.
Yeah, I think the very funny fact of, like, the deck locks you out of Link summoning at many points. You are not going to, unless you're just running Spirit Dragon, that's not going to work. Worth noting, there is a fusion that locks you. You did not see it. It does lock you into dragons, and the level 3 also locks you into dragons on its extra normal summon. Which is any dragon. But if you don't care about those cards, Drytrons have 2000 attack and 0 defense. Was not intentional. But
it's true!
Only problem is that these guys can be normal summoned. So I don't know what you're doing with that, but you figure it out, you know?
It's very funny. Okay, so you can dragon lock yourself, but really the big thing is that a lot of them will link lock you, or can't be used for link stuff, which means that link decks in general aren't going to be running this, but especially Dragon Link. Very good that you kept those restrictions in there, because I can imagine that being a big sticky point.
You have a full list of every card that you can do with this. Every card that is a target for the spell, every card that is a target for Fairy Dragon. One of the baby rulers is a highlight. Destrudo is a highlight that's very funny. Red Eyes Black Meteor Dragon, Light Pulsar. I showed Materia Reactor Dragon, in DMZ Dragon, and Kimaton in the side deck. Chaos Max, kind of. Obviously 10,000. There are some Dragunities that you can search. And I mean, Spear Dragon just means if you control, it's Javelin or Dark Spear, and I don't think those are good cards, but they're there. That you can special summon this card, and then when it's special summoned, you can summon one of your equips. So you can run that in Dragoonity as a generic extender. Otherwise, it's just like a series of, you could maybe use this in something.
So I'm saying a 3 in versatility. It's got a lot of range on it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And awesomeness. Look, it's more old card design being brought up to standard. Maybe design is a bit too big of a word, but older cards that we loved brought forward. It's a cool design. I like what you're doing of it. It's a 5. I'm giving these an 18. These are very solid, cool-ass cards.
All right. I mean, yeah. It was very funny to look at these because, like I said, I made these when I was before Master Duel came out, like pre-NR Lemon. It's a very different Lemon. I hate meta Lemon. I Dragoon should be banned Lemon. The PSCT on these fucking things was a disaster. I had to fix them a lot, but I swore to myself that I wouldn't add too many. I wouldn't remove any. I think I removed one and I added the Metal Dragon, just to complete the set.
And so we made up for it.
Yeah. And it was removed because of redundancy. That it was basically just another union, where it's just excavated cards and then added. And I just went, I don't need that. It seems unnecessary.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much for bringing these in so we can take a look at them. I hope you have yourself a good day, alright?
Yep, you too.
Okay, bye-bye!
Bye.
Folks, which one-eyed is your favorite? Personally, I'm all about Sword Dragon. That little tail curl with the sword's looking a little sassy, and I love it. Alrighty, we have 27 minutes left in the stream. I got to be done here at 3:30. So let's go ahead and get Jacolo in on this nonsense. Jacolo, bring it on in. Let's talk about some cards, huh? Set up there. Unless Jacolo's not here, in which case I'm going to go... Oh, wait.
Someone is saying Buster Dragon, like you can equip Buster Dragon. The card that equips from graveyards is level 3 or higher. I planned for that. You're not doing it.
Wait, aren't they level 3?
No, all the Buster Dragon guys are level 1. Alright, that's all. Bye.
Alright, bye.
Okay, I'm here.
Hey, Jackalo, how's it going?
Doing fine.
Good, good. Let's go ahead and take a look-see at this archetype. So tell us a little about this one. What was the thoughts that were going through your head when you were designing this?
I was watching isekai anime. People dying through because overwork and stuff. I'm working at a corporation. I assume most people my age, 30 plus, are. So I decided, oh, fuck it, let's make it into an archetype.
Yeah, we're channeling that real-world experience, that pain and suffering, into children's card games, and that is the truest expression of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yep.
Alrighty. Let's go ahead and get this all started up here, starting with Black Company Intern, level 4, Light Warrior Normal Monster with 1500 attack and 1100 defense. A fresh college graduate with a future full of possibilities. And I'm sure that's going to be A-okay.
Yep.
All right, next up is Black Company Drone, level 3 Dark Zombie Monster, 1000 attack and defense. This card can be special summoned from your hand by attributing a face-up Black Company Intern. If summoned this way, add a Black Company card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn, and during the end phase, if Black Company President is on the field, target one Black Company Intern in your graveyard and special summon it to the field in defense position, and if you do, return this card to the hand. Oh, okay. So, drone, not like the machine, but like, an office
No.
drone.
Yes, an office drone.
Okay, so you get this on board, you search a card, and then if you have president, you get to reset the cycle to do it again next turn.
Well, yeah, because the president hires the intern is burned out, becomes a drone, the drone gets fired, and the new intern comes over.
Ah, the classic cycle of burnout. Also, love the zombie typing on that for that. Very good.
Yes, that's also I decided to change the level to 3 instead of 4, and the attribute to dark because, well, overwork and stuff.
Absolutely. It wears on you. That shit sucks. All right, next up. Black Company President, level 11, Divine Attribute, Divine Beast Monster with question mark attack and defense. Cannot be normal summoned or set, and can only be special summoned from the hand if there are at least 3 Black Company monsters on the field, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. You can only control one copy of this card, unaffected by other cards' effects, except Black Company cards that you control. Change all other Black Company monsters on the field to defense position. Also, they cannot activate their effects. This card gains 1500 attack and defense for every Black Company card on the field. So
He's the president. He's God.
yeah, he lords over all of the minions. It makes sense that they would think of themselves as divine. I can dig that. We're not using the attribute as like oh, look how cool my monster is. We're using it as social satire, and honestly, I'm here for it.
Yep. And of course, because he's the president, everybody kneels before him.
Oh, yes. We must venerate the president, the hardest worker out of all of us. And then it's going to hit board as, a 6,000 to 6,000? Because it's got its own, it counts itself and then the 3 others. So that's 15 times 4. So, yeah, it's
Yep.
fucking huge. Now,
well, he does get a big paycheck.
Yeah, gotta get those bonuses. Now, my question is it an inherent summon from hand if you have at least 3, or is it just
that's the general idea? That's the general idea.
Got it. Okay. So that's about as good of a boss monster as I could imagine. Black Company Hostile Takeover. Continuous spell card. All monsters on the opponent's side of the field are treated as Black Company monsters. Oh no, that attack boost just got really big.
Yes.
All monsters on the opponent's side of the field lose 800 attack and defense for every Black Company monster on the field. If this card leaves the field because of your opponent's card effect, you can special summon Black Company normal monsters from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Or special summon one of them. You can only use the effect of Hostile Takeover once per turn.
Yeah, so the idea for Hostile Takeover is basically, well, let's boost the president, and I may or may not have taken an inspiration from Buster Blader here.
Turning them all into something that goes in defense position, I see.
Well, have you read the president?
Yeah. I imagine the president is also doing the same fusion swordsman pose.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is Black Company Project Deadline. Quick play spell card. Every Black Company monster on the field gains 300 attack times the number of Black Company cards on the field. During the end phase, send all monsters affected by this effect to the graveyard.
Well, the deadline is here. We have to crunch it. So we're doing overtime, and of course it's unpaid.
And then once the project is completed, thank you all for all your hard work. Get the fuck out of the building. We have to cut people now.
Exactly.
Karma Like Arson, thank you so much for following. Hope you enjoy your stay here. All right. Black Company Supervisor, level 5 Fire Spellcaster, 1900 attack, 2500 defense. This card can be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by attributing a face-up Black Company intern. If summoned this way, Black Company monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects until the end of your opponent's next turn. During your standby phase, if this card is in your graveyard and you control Black Company President, you can shuffle this card back into the deck, and if you do, add 2 Black Company Spell or Trap cards from your graveyard to your hand.
Because, the intern can become a supervisor if he works hard enough. And every supervisor I known was kind of doing stuff, helping, protecting, because middle management.
They're, look, people higher up on the ladder, they might be cool, but more times than not, they gotta look after themselves in number 1.
Yep.
Alright, Black Company Director, level 7 Dark Fiend monster with 2300 attack and 1100 defense. This card can be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by attributing a Black Company intern. While this card is phased upon the field, all Black Company monsters can attack directly. Now there we go. That's the spooky part about all this.
Yes, definitely. And as a director, he does nothing more.
Nope, that's just it. Just, here, go ahead and do this thing.
Get here. Yeah.
So we add director to our lineup, and now president can just attack directly with all those attack points. Great. Good stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Bossy Joe C, thank you so much for following here on the Orbital platform.
And Goldenova, it's not an FTK, there's no burn. You have to fight, if anything.
Yeah, we have to make them work for something. As much as they would loathe the idea to do so. Alright. Black Company Redundancy. Continuous trap card can only be activated if you control Black Company President. Neither player can summon monsters with the same name, type, and attribute as ones already on the field. Huh.
Yeah, I wasn't very sure about the wording on that one.
So is it supposed to be like
Peekaboo
all
on
three
steroids?
of those need to be met, or they can't summon anything with the same name, they can't summon anything with the same type, or anything with the same attribute?
It's Peekaboo on steroids.
Okay.
Basically, you can't, because we're doing a redundancy, right? We're cutting everyone with the same position, so everyone with the same attribute, everyone with the same type, etc., etc.
So, for example, if you have intern on board, that means
I
you can't
can't-
summon any lights or warriors.
Yep.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a pretty good way to lock down the opponent on turn 1 so you can get to that OTK.
Yeah, that's also why most of the Black Company monsters are different attributes and types.
Get as much of a lock as possible. My god, Jackalope, this deck is so evil. You're doing such a good job with it.
Thank you.
Black Company Spy Division, normal spell card. Reveal all of your opponent's face down cards. Then return them to their original position. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, if you control Black Company CEO, President, I assume.
Yeah, I didn't change that.
Okay. You can banish this card, look at your opponent's hand, all face down cards they control, and 3 cards from the top of their deck. Return each card to their original position. Your opponent cannot look at the cards at the top of their deck. You only use each effect of Spy Division once per turn. So if they gain an effect that lets them look at the top card, they don't get to look at it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the general idea. Yeah, so Spy Division, because, we're doing some not good things. We're spying on our opponents.
Corporate
we need to know
espionage, right? Like,
exactly.
It's illegal, quote unquote. Alrighty, lastly, we have Black Company HQ. A field spell card. Black Company monsters you control cannot be targeted by the opponent's card effects. Once per turn, if you control no Black Company monsters, you can special summon a Black Company normal monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You cannot normal summon or set the turn you activate this effect. If this card leaves the field, banish all Black Company cards on the field face down.
Well, the company needs their HQ.
You gotta have the building with the sweet elevator and the golden pools.
Yeah, and if
What
there's
must-
no if there's no building with elevator, golden pools, and a toilet made out of diamonds, everyone crumbles.
What's the point otherwise?
Exactly.
Okay, well that is a decidedly gross series of cards. Every one I read made my skin crawl. Thank you for your design here.
It
Uh,
it it it's the first ever archetype I've designed, so I am a bit nervous
all
when it
right.
comes to the Nova scaling.
Well, before we get to those, were there any interactions or anything that we wanted to make sure we kept in mind before I started putting numbers down?
To be perfectly honest, I didn't think of any. I just went and made the quote-unquote law because intern, Rome, etc., and all the corporate lingo and stuff.
Yeah,
So I didn't
big
think of any interactions.
that makes sense. Big focus on what the archetype is meant to elicit, like in spirit, not so much how it would function in the format kind of deal.
I was focused on the funny hahas.
Hey, and honestly, once again, that's the reason why the scale exists to, account for decks and custom cards that were built for funny ha-has. Kukabunga, thank you so much for following here on the Orbital platform. Let's start with novelty. So, is this deck new? Are we doing any fresh concepts here? I do like the expression here. It does feel like a lot of work went into figuring out how you would make a deck that would make you feel like you were part of a soulless corporation. We're looping through a specific normal. It's like this feels like the decks that exist out there that revolve around a single important monster, but that monster is now being treated as like the butt of the joke. And I don't think we've ever had that. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, when I made the intern a normal monster, my first thought was, fuck, genius loci.
It is kind of like the inverse of Loci, and I do like that, so I gotta give it a 5. I think this is a pretty inspired design you've got going on here. Objectivity. So the scariest thing that it looks like this deck can do is Black Company President plus Supervisor. Or Director.
Director.
Get the board set up, attack directly with a giant monster, fill the board with stuff, and then make your opponent's monsters also Black Companies by using Hostile Takeover, which is searchable, or not searchable. We can recur it with Supervisor.
And we can search it with the drone.
And drone searches it. Okay, so we've got a pretty good engine going on here. And President itself is unaffected by other card effects except Black Company card control. Oh man, I was about to say that the field spell messes with that, but once it leaves the field, it's no longer a Black Company card you control, so it won't get auto destroyed by the field spell. But
it will be sent to the graveyard by the what was it? Not the project deadline.
Deadline. Every Black Company. Oh yeah, Project Deadline will go ahead and nuke your own monster, so there is that. But even if the field spell doesn't banish your main monster, it will banish everything else around it, making President only 1500, which is pretty easy to run over with almost anything. So I don't think obviously if you get in with President, it's game over. Like there's no way around that. But a deck worth its salt will have a way to deal with the field spell to help strip the Black Company player of their cards. I'm a little worried. I'm going to give it a 4. There's potential for really powerful plays here, but I think the problem-solving card text here is good.
Could have been better.
I just worry it might run the format a little bit, but I could be over-correcting for it, but, unfortunately, we won't live in the scenario in which we'll be able to test that theory.
Yeah.
Okay, versatility. Does this play well in other decks?
No.
The engine kind of, Okay, so what I like here is that the engine seems pretty compact. We could play, like, Unexpected Die to get the intern out. I guess as a main deck monster, we'd have to get drone and intern together at the same time to get that process going, and that does require a bit of a deck building cost. Yeah, maybe this actually isn't very splashable.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see, we have
Also the fact that
zombie,
also the fact that drone is a zombie, it's not that searchable. And it can only be special summoned from the grave, so you cannot use Gozuki to send it from the deck to grave.
Yeah, I think it is a 1. I think it's a 1. I was
Yeah.
trying to find something, but I think this is just its own self-contained deck. Once again, not a knock on it. That's just its own thing. And awesomeness, yeah. I give this a 5 in awesomeness, not because I think that it's a cool and rad idea for this to exist as a real thing, because companies, they fucking suck, okay? Just, they're terrible. But you've done a good job of really getting into the nitty-gritty, expressing that through card design, and I can't give anything less than a 5 for a very meticulously put together series of cards for that one. So, bravo on that. Black Company's getting a 15.
Yeah. And as someone said in chat, 5 in productivity.
Shut up! Shut up! All right. Yeah. So thank you so much. This was actually a really cool. As your first grouping of cards, you didn't do half bad.
Well, thank you. Now I'll have to top it.
Yeah. Come on. Let's see. Let's see a 16 next quarter. Okay. We've got to see some percentages up there for those shareholders. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, Mr. President.
Yeah. Of course. All right. Take care, Jack. Have a good one.
See ya.
Alrighty. Sick. Okay, let me go ahead and get these redeems out of the way, because that is correct. Thank you for the reminder. Let's go and get those done, and then we'll talk about our last person, and then I gotta hightail it out of here ASAP. So I've got a couple of fist bumps for Raviel. Let's go ahead and get mine out of the way for Kingmaker. Thank you very much. Let's go and get a little. Okay, that's mine. And then, right as Jackalow wanted you all to have a fist bump, so folks, raise your fist to the screen, share in the Shimmering Scraper energy. Okay. And then lastly from Kingmaker, once again, announcement for 2,000 channel points. Hello everyone, just letting everyone know that we are now serving linguine and ravioli in the cafeteria. Just make sure not to feed the despots. After the last noodle bar, cleanup took weeks. You can, however, give the noodles to Trihorn Dragon. Yay! He loves noodles. He's like his old man. Me. We love them noodles. Alrighty. Last thing on the docket here is from a newcomer to the channel. Newcomer to the Patreon. Get that pulled up here. Blueberry Spicehead. Let's go ahead and grab this over here. Turn on the Discord. We've got Battery Man support. That's right. The coolest archetype under the sun. And by coolest, I mean the sparkiest. Let's go ahead and get that counter started. And we'll give him a look-see. Alrighty. So first up, we have Battery Man Fusion, a quick play spell card. They can fusion summon a Thunder-type fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. If summoning a Battery Man fusion monster this way, you can also use monsters from your deck as material. Ooh. During either player's turn, you can banish this card from your graveyard and target one Battery Man monster you control. Your opponent cannot target that monster with card effects for the rest of the turn. You can only activate the effects of Battery Man Fusion once per turn. Okay, so I like that they made sure to give it the quick effect there, because while it is a quick play spell, in the graveyard it's just a spell card, so it wouldn't be a quick effect by itself. we can do that to keep one of our battery men safe. We've got some pretty big ones. I'm not sure what we'll be adding with the rest of these, but just even things like industrial strength, making sure that survives through a turn is pretty good. Hey, Ian. How's it going, Dempire? How's it going? It's branded fusion. It's branded fusion for Battery Man. You can even activate this during the battle phase as a quick effect, too. Also, because it summons Thunder-type fusion monsters, this means that you can splash it in Thunder Dragon. People are already running Solar as a way to bin Thunder monsters. And if you want to be extra ridiculous, this fusion summons the Prank Kid Battle Butler. So, you know, have fun with that. Okay, next up is Battery Man Lithium. Okay, guys, so it is time for another Battery Man update. The level 4 Light Thunder monster, 1700 attack, 1800 defense. When this card is summoned, you can add a Battery Man monster from your deck to your hand, and immediately after this effect resolves, normal summon a Thunder-type monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of Lithium once per turn, and you can special summon Thunder monsters the turn you activate this effect. I think it means you can only special summon Thunder-type monsters the turn you activate this effect, otherwise it wouldn't do anything. Just so you know, using this effect in response would not stop any effect already targeting it. Yeah, sadly, it's not like Skill Prisoner, which we should be building more cards like Skill Prisoner. Based card, sad that we didn't see any more around that. Okay, so Lithium, we summon it, we get a card, and it gets us a normal summon of a Thunder, so we can immediately summon it. This is like 9 volt times a million. And it's not just normal summon, it's any summon. Okay, it does limit the effect to once per turn, so that's good. We can't just go Lithium, Lithium, Lithium. So that's a pretty sweet addition to the deck. Battery Man Jump Starter. Link 1. Thunder Link monster, 800 attack. Requiring any one Battery Man monster as material. If this card is Link summoned, you can add a spell or trap card that mentions Battery Man from your deck to your hand. If a Thunder-type monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, draw a card, and if that special summoned monster was a Battery Man, you can return one card on the field back to the hand. Okay. So, will we go Lithium, search a Battery Man, normal summon it, get its effects, link off the Jump Starter, and then I guess we could link the get a spell or trap card. Oh, we could get there's a card that summons Battery Man from the graveyard, right? So we search that, summon the Battery Man back out to that zone. We get to draw a card to make up for that, and then we get to return a card on the field. That's outstanding. Holy cow. And it doesn't limit like we can use it as material for anything, so we can just boop. Summons 2 from the graveyard. Isn't the one that summons 2 the continuous trap card? You could also do that. In fact, it might even be better if you're going first, because then you can save it for during your opponent's turn to make that happen. So both of those are very valid. A battery pack? Was that it? Battery Man battery pack? Power pack? You guys know what it is. You'll figure it out. Okay, lastly is Battery Man Heavy Voltage. Showing off those guns! It is a level 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Light Fusion Thunder monster with 2400 attack and 3000 defense, requiring 3 Battery Man as material. Gains 300 attack for every Battery Man monster on the field and in the graveyard. When a card or effect is activated as a quick effect, banish a Battery Man card from your field or graveyard. You can negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. You can only use this effect of this card twice per turn. Ooh, okay. All right. We're cooking here. So, we have Battery Man Fusion. Oh my god, we don't even need to search out the one that revives from graveyard. We just use Jump Starter to get us Battery Man Fusion. It's literally the Link one that searches the fusion spell. Oh my god, how did I not see that beforehand? So, you summon any Battery Man, link off into Jump Starter. Jump Starter gets you Fusion. Activate Fusion. Because you're summoning a Battery Man, you can use material from your deck. You send 3, summon Heavy Voltage to Jump Starter zone. Draw a card, bounce a card. Maybe not even activate it once you get it. It's a quick play spell card. Use it whenever you want. Draw a card, bounce a card when you need to. This becomes a 3/6/9. This goes to 3,300 at least off of its initial material. And you get to negate twice per turn. It's an Omni negate too. Holy cow. Jesus. Hey, are there any locks on that link or on that fusion spell? There's a lock on Lithium. I have to assume it's a lock too, because otherwise this last line of text doesn't make sense. You can only use the effect of Lithium once per turn. You can special summon Thunder type monsters. You can special summon Thunder type monsters doesn't make sense, so it can only be special summon the this effect. And this would be a before and after type lock, but Lithium wasn't even part of that combo. You could still just use 9 volt. That doesn't have a lock. This doesn't have a lock. Easy pension advances cards. Turn. Yeah, no. Only Lithium has a lock on it. All the rest of these are generic. Oh my. Oh wow. Oh wow. That's kind of wild. Okay. Yeah, I don't even care about a lock on Lithium because it's just a better adventure, a better invoked, a better branded engine. So yeah, this stuff is really good. Let's go ahead and jump into the Nova scale here. At part A because we've seen all the cards here, and B because I gotta get out of here ASAP. But I think we've seen all that we need to see on this one. So novelty, we're starting from 4 because we're basing it off of Battery Man. Is it doing things we haven't seen before? I'm gonna be honest. These are effects that we've seen in other archetypes being planted into Battery Man. Once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because some of these effects are very effective and have made these archetypes very strong, but are they original? Not necessarily. So I think we have a 1 on this one. Because, like, what? This is Branded Fusion, but quick play spell. This is a big boss monster that negates multiple things. This is the Link one that searches our power card. Lithium is a card that searches our other cards. These are all pretty established cards. Not bad, but we're just taking that and applying it to Battery Man. So it's 1 on novelty. Objectivity. Mentions Battery Man isn't how searching works. That's true. It would have to be worded in such a way that, like, add a spell or trap card that mentions a Battery Man monster, because I think we've had a few in recent years that have checked for things that mention archetype names. We also have had things that check by specific monsters, and that's when things get really confusing when you try to mix the two together. It would have to say something slightly different, but I guess I see what is going there. But the objectivity points are not going to be hits are not necessarily going to be coming from the problem-solving card text. They're going to be coming from the power level, because Lithium being the only lock means all of these other ones are pretty live. Now, granted, you do have to be playing a lot of Battery Man for this to work and not to brick. Heavy Voltage requires 3 material. If you want to get the bonus effect off of Jumpstarter, you have to not use it as one of the material to make it off of Battery Man Fusion. So you're running the Battery Man and that initially goes into the Link 1, and then you're playing the 3 additional Battery Men to use this as material for the summon. So it'll depend on how high intensity you want, but that's 4 to 5 cards minimum, and with variable utility depending on which ones you pick. This is really strong. It's outrageously strong. The only thing that is a drawback for this is the opportunity cost of taking up 5 to 6 slots in your main deck and at least 2 slots in your extra deck to make this work. And not every deck is going to be able to pull that off, but a lot of decks are going to try, because that's a lot of value in this one. So for the power level of these cards, this is going to be a 2. That being said, versatility, because of how easy it is to splash in a lot of decks, because of the lack of locks in here, and even just the downright actual synergy with Thunder decks going on here, I gotta give it a 4 in versatility. The only decks that can't play this are decks that can't play with fusion monsters. They just don't function with them. No, you know what? It's a 5, actually. Because Batteryman Fusion is a quick play spell, and most restrictions that keep you from using monsters from your extra deck in a particular way last on your turn. You can search Batteryman Fusion and use it on your opponent's turn. It's actually optimal if you combine it with Jumpstarter to get the bounce. Every deck can play these cards, except for very, very niche cards. So it gets a 5 in versatility. Toss format's coming back. Sure, I thought that was cool. And then awesomeness. I like Batterymans. I don't know what to tell you. I know that they're really, really powerful. They're gonna be splashing a lot of things. If these were real, these would ruin a format, but they're not real. And I like that they're just gonna turn Batteryman into a tier 1 threat. And I must remind you, look at the pythons on this one. God damn, look at that guy. Look at him. So I'm giving a 13 on the Nova scale for these Batteryman cards. These are pretty dope. Also, if you don't care about the extra effect, Thunder Dragons get a Battle Phase Fusion. Exactly. There's wild stuff. Wild stuff. Okay, so 13 on the Nova scale. Blueberry, Spicehead, if you're here right now, I hope you enjoyed. I know this is the first one. Please don't take the 1s or the 2s as like a showing of bad quality. The Nova scale is meant to focus on a bunch of different attributes and how they weigh in each different one. So we saw what the strengths and weaknesses of these were. And they're very powerful. And they're cool. And if you're watching the VOD, I hope you enjoyed the VOD up till this point. That is it from me. One last announcement. I'm doing one announcement left for Wolf is on Fire. This is the last thing I'm doing today, okay? Hello, everyone. 'Tis your drummer Black speaking. Our star brother Lime is visiting, and we would like to request to not hurt him excessively, to not, excuse me, hurt his careery thingy. That was cursed. About as cursed as it gets. Alright. Folks, thank you all so much for stopping by. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at noon Central, because we are doing even more custom card discussion tomorrow. It's not stopping until Sunday, at which point it will very clearly stop for the rest of the month. I'm going to go ahead and throw my socials on here. All of you know what to do. Make sure you keep your eye on the YouTube channel tonight, because Living Lore of Dual Terminal Episode 5 is in the can, and we're going to have a premiere for it later tonight. So hit that link to the YouTube. Make sure you follow and don't miss it. I'm going to be there watching it with all of you. We're going to see the beginning of Age 2.0 and the wild stuff that's going to be happening with Terminus from there. Quick raid. Who are we raiding to? Twitch, who's live right now? There's a lot of people. Nimnesis. Hell Kitty Selena. Hell Kitty Selena is playing some Master Duel. She's doing grand. I wish I could join her right now, but I'm too busy. Make sure to give her all of the fun and love and hugs that she deserves. Selena is great. If you haven't seen us, we've worked together on the Fortress of Duel many, many times. Absolutely fantastic, and she's getting back into the swing of things. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see all of you tonight for the premiere of Living Lore of Dual Terminal Episode 5. And as always, take care. Have a good one. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
I don't think that was one I ever did, actually. Yo, GoldenNova! Thank you so much for the raid! How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, lovely? How are you doing? What were you doing? What were you doing? Hey. Nova, you can pop on if you want for a little bit. It's more than welcome to, Hazley. I wish I could stay, but you gotta go. Have a go on stream, send Matter of my love. I will do, Nova. Thank you so much for the raid. Stay safe and take care, okay? Expect a message for this month's Fortress. Rose bud? How you doing? Also, the Foxy model is cute. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's on Moon Meadow. But if you need to go